Front loading is asking ourselves, what is the movement that is needed at this point in time? Sunrise was front loaded for a 4-year strategy under a Trump presidency, under political conditions that look very, very different to the ones we have today. And in order to be an organization that is successful, that can cultivate a movement to weather the next decade of change that we need to undergo, we need a strategy that really, really recognizes what moment we're in, both politically and in terms of our movements. And yeah, a strategy drafted that takes that context and puts it into practice.
Basically, front loading is the process to revamp our, the ways that we organize, the ways that we talk to people, the structures that we build, how we interact with each other, so that we can build a more powerful, a more multiracial, across-class movement that's actually able to win the Green New Deal.
So in front loading, there are basically 4 buckets: story, strategy, and then there's structure and culture. And structure and culture are pretty synced. And so I am coordinating a team of 5 people through the process of building culture DNA, which is, what is the culture of our movement? How does it connect to, there's this quote culture eats strategy for breakfast, and feel that in the movement right now as we've gone through a lot of conflict of we can't win and build people power if our culture is bad, or oppression, or racism, or people are burning out. So culture is really important to winning a Green New Deal. And so part of that is building culture, rebuilding our culture in Sunrise, and then building the structures, hub structure, movement structure, democracy and decision-making structures to better support the work that we want to do.
Structure is a lot of different things. It's the way we structure our movements, how much capacity we learn to different things. There's this whole question of decentralization. Truly decentralized movements are kind of rare, so it's hard to find models, and so there's a lot of figuring out what it looks like to decentralize, and how we do that in a way that still keeps our distributed model, which is mass action, but guided by the central org. And it's just a lot of how do we structure our movement? What's our movement gonna look like? It's also taking the strategy from the strategy team and being cool, here's what we want to win by this date. How does our movement need to be structured to win that by then?
My role on the front loading team is on the story team. So story is all about the voice of our movement, how we get across to people, how we tell the story of what our movement is striving to do, the world that we're trying to achieve, and what it takes to get there, the challenges before us and the people standing in our way.
Strategy is setting our campaigns and our new phases, and our basically the strategy for how we get basically where we want to be in 5 years and the strategy to get us there.
I'm on the strategy team for front loading, but I am also the coordinator for the whole thing, which means I sort of work with Deja to support the structure culture team, work with Malia to support the strategy and story teams. When story team was separate, I worked on that as well, and also worked to support Stevie on content testing. So it's sort of bird's eye view of a lot of it.
Most movements haven't re-front loaded. It's kind of an experiment, and it's wow, to think about structure changes and think about strategy changes and think about big changes when you have an already existing movement of over 20,000 people is kind of a big deal. It's not we're starting fresh, we're gonna do this thing. It's we're gonna change this thing that you've been doing for the past bunch of years. So that feels pretty daunting, and it feels so exciting because we don't have to start from scratch, and we have a base and a group of people with so much knowledge that we can pull from and learn from and grow with, which is really exciting.